You walk through those automatic glass doors with a simple $3 mission, a quick tube of toothpaste, maybe a bottle of dish soap. That is literally it. You tell yourself, 5 minutes in, 5 minutes out. Fast forward 45 minutes later, and you are standing in line, staring down at a bright red plastic cart stacked high with decorative throw pillows, scented candles, a cozy denim jacket, 3 packages of organic snacks, and a stylish lamp that you didn't even know existed 10 minutes ago. Your total at the register, $184.62. You look at the receipt, completely stunned, scratching your head and asking yourself the exact same question millions of shoppers ask every single week. What on earth just happened? Here is the truth that retail executives will never admit to your face. That impulse spending spree was not an accident. It was not a lack of willpower on your part, and it definitely wasn't random bad luck. You just walked straight into a masterfully engineered psychological trap. A multi-billion-dollar behavioral experiment designed over 30 years to strip away your financial discipline. Step by step, most people believe retail giants make their billions by fighting brutal price wars, slashing margins, and selling items as cheaply as humanly possible. But inside the corporate boardrooms of this retail titan, that entire concept is treated like an ancient myth. They don't want to beat competitors on rock-bottom prices. They want to master the human mind. Because while other stores fight for every penny from budget-conscious shoppers, this company built a hidden financial engine that quietly extracts maximum cash from the wealthiest suburban neighborhoods in the country. So, how did a simple discount department store convince millions of smart shoppers that spending way more money is actually a comforting, rewarding, and almost sacred daily routine? To uncover the real secret, we have to pull back the polished curtain and look at the invisible psychological triggers hiding right in front of your eyes. And it all starts the very second your feet touch the floorboard. Think about the last time you walked into a typical discount warehouse. The environment is intentionally harsh, looming metal shelves, humming industrial fans, flickering overhead lights, and concrete floors that echo with every step. Your brain registers that sensory noise and instantly leaps to a logical conclusion. This place is ugly, so the deals must be incredible. Now, recall what happens when you step inside a Target. The lighting is soft and warm. The aisles are remarkably wide, uncluttered, and lined with warm visual accents. There is no loud overhead music blasting, no chaotic yellow sale banners screaming for attention, and no towering metal racks making you feel tiny. They intentionally spent billions of dollars to make cheap products look like luxury items. And that simple architectural decision unlocked a massive goldmine. Instead of fighting for low-income shoppers with razor-thin margins, they systematically captured the upper-middle-class household, families earning $80,000 to over $100,000 a year, shoppers who have plenty of disposable income, but still crave the emotional satisfaction of finding a good deal. The public even gave this feeling an iconic nickname, Target, transforming a budget retail run into a weird kind of status symbol. But pretty store design alone doesn't generate over $100 billion in annual revenue. There is a dark, highly calculated behavioral script playing out under the surface. And the first step of that script begins right at the front entrance. The moment you grab a shopping cart, you are stepping into a trap. Notice the size of those red carts. Over the years, they have been quietly expanded. They are physically engineered to make a normal amount of items look completely lost inside the basket. When your eyes see an empty cart, your brain experiences a subtle psychological discomfort. It triggers an automatic urge to fill the void, and before you even reach the main store sections, you hit the ultimate speed bump, the dollar section, officially known as Bullseye's Playground, a bright, colorful display of cheap trinkets, tiny toys, and small home goods priced at $1, $3, or $5. Most shoppers glance at it, smile, and throw a couple of $3 notebooks into their cart. They think, hey, it's just $3. What's the big deal? Here is what you don't realize. That tiny $3 purchase is a psychological warm-up in behavioral economics. Getting a customer to make a frictionless, low-risk buying decision breaks down their natural spending resistance. Once you say yes to spending $3 within 60 seconds of walking through the door, your brain categorizes the entire store as a safe space. Your guard drops. Your budget discipline vanishes. You have been primed to spend. But now, this leads us to a much bigger mystery. Because buying cheap notebooks and $3 toys will never make a company worth billions. So, where does the real fortune actually come from? To find out, you have to follow the floor map deep into the back of the building. Grocery stores operate on microscopic profit margins, often just 1 to 2%. Every time a store sells a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread, they make practically nothing. If this company relied solely on groceries, its profit margins would bleed out in months. So, why spend massive amounts of floor space on food? Because groceries are the ultimate behavioral bait. You might only need a new sweater or a set of dinner plates every few months, but you need food every few days. Food generates consistent, predictable, weekly foot traffic. It gets you through the outer doors. And notice where the essentials like milk, eggs, and pharmacy items are always hidden, in the furthest, most distant corners of the building. To reach that $3 carton of milk, you are forced to walk through a carefully mapped obstacle course of high-margin temptations. Trendy apparel, seasonal decor, beauty products, and home furnishings. Products where the profit margins aren't 1 or 2%, but 30, 40, sometimes over 50%. By the time you finally grab your milk and head toward the cash registers, you've navigated through dozens of high-profit visual prompts. Every single aisle acts as a silent salesperson, exploiting your mental fatigue as you walk the floor. Yet, even this massive layout trick is only half the story. Because selling famous third-party brands like Crest, Tide, or Sony doesn't make a retailer rich, the manufacturers keep most of the profit. To build an unbeatable empire, they had to launch a secret war against national brands. If you stroll through the clothing or kitchen sections, you'll see stylish brand names like Threshold, Cat and Jack, Good and Gather, all in motion, and Studio Magi. They look and feel like trendy, independent boutique labels you'd find in high-end shopping districts, except they aren't independent at all. Target secretly owns every single one of them. They built over 40 internal private label brands from scratch, turning them into absolute powerhouses. In fact, Cat and Jack, their internal kids' clothing line alone, generates more than $2 billion in revenue every single year. That single store brand generates more money than many famous global companies by removing middleman suppliers, designing items internally, and controlling production directly. They unlock staggering profit margins. They place national brands on lower or higher shelves, while positioning their own high-margin private labels directly at eye level. When you choose between 2 stylish shirts, you think you are exercising consumer freedom. In reality, you are just choosing between 2 different profit levels for the exact same corporation. Now, here is where the story takes a sudden, dramatic twist. A few years ago, the entire retail industry hit a terrifying brick wall. E-commerce giants like Amazon were expanding rapidly, offering fast home delivery, and threatening to render traditional brick-and-mortar stores completely obsolete. Wall Street analysts began declaring the death of physical retail. Major chains started filing for bankruptcy left and right. And this company faced a critical crossroads. Adapt or die. Competitors panicked, spending billions to construct massive, automated warehouses out in remote industrial zones to compete on shipping speeds. Target did something that made financial experts think they had completely lost their minds. Instead of building massive new fulfillment centers, they decided to turn their existing suburban retail stores into local shipping hubs. They bought a delivery platform called Shipt for $550 million and retooled the back rooms of their stores into mini logistics stations. When you place a digital order for same-day drive-up pickup, an employee isn't fetching your item from a distant warehouse 3 states away. They are picking it right off the shelf at your local neighborhood store. That single move was a stroke of genius. It reduced their shipping and fulfillment costs by almost 40% per order. Think about the sheer brilliance of this model. While competitors burn millions paying couriers to haul packages to your doorstep, this store entices you to drive your own car to their parking lot, park in a designated space, and let them hand you your items in minutes. And what happens when you decide to step inside for just one quick second to grab something extra? The spending cycle starts all over again. They transformed a terrifying digital threat into their most profitable customer acquisition channel, which brings us to the ultimate question. Can this giant keep printing billions forever? Or is there a major flaw waiting to crack this entire model wide open? The answer lies in the fragile nature of consumer psychology. When economic times get tough and inflation hits household budgets, consumer behavior shifts violently overnight. Shoppers stop buying high-margin throw pillows, trendy patio furniture, and designer clothes. They strictly stick to low-margin essentials, basic food, soap, and paper towels. When that shift happens, the store's high-profit safety net suddenly vanishes,